5 o'clock?
They sometimes wonder from different fields, colleges.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready, and I'll hit record.
Where does it end? So we're starting to
So
start
welcome
fish.
to our open house. Thanks for coming. We are so excited. I would do the happy dance if I remembered how to do it, and you'll see how excited I am about this program. And what we're going to do is just do a really, really brief overview for you tonight about the Riverland part of going back to school as a working adult, which we call Flexpace. And then Dr. Kathy Ritchie, who is going to be joining us from Florida, and she's going to explain to you the last 60 credits that we are going to be offering through Minnesota State Mankato, and they're called their program Math Biz Online. So they'll explain that to you. So how did we get here? Why did we start Flexpace, and why are we doing it now? It was kind of, we always put in here this perfect storm. So we were finding out from workers, and in fact Federated was one of the companies we had talked to, that said they were really struggling to get people into their upper level positions because they didn't have the academic credential they needed to be a manager. And we were hearing also from workers that they wanted to go farther in their jobs, but they didn't have what they needed to be able to do that. And some of our students, our adult students in our current classes, were telling us, this is so depressing because with my work schedule I can only take one class at a time. And to get a 2-year degree, taking one class at a time, is going to take me 10 to 15 years. That's pretty depressing. In fact, one person was even crying in my office saying, I don't even know why I'm taking classes, because I'm going to be 65 when I get done with my 2-year degree. So we thought, what could we do? And Kelly, you can cover your ears, but I come from a business background, and in business, when something isn't working right, we tend to fix it. In higher education, we like to talk about it. So instead of just talking about it, we thought, what can we do to fix it? And at that same time, a grant came open called the Shark Tank, which is like the TV show, where you could present an idea, an innovative idea, and we were awarded a grant to try out this Flexpace program. So what we did is we redesigned our courses. Typically a course in college goes 16 to 17 weeks long, and you take multiple classes at the same time. And we switched it up so that we had an accelerated format. Anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, the courses would go. We set them up sequentially. So you take a course, you get done with that, you take the next course. And so you're only taking one course at a time. We allow our learners in the Flexpace program to demonstrate prior knowledge. So if you know something already, if you're taking a marketing class and that's your job is marketing, you can go through that class as quick as you can demonstrate that you know how to do the material in it. We offer alternate pathways. If you don't understand something in a normal class, we move on without you. In the Flexpace classes, material will open up for you if you don't demonstrate that you know how to achieve whatever the level of competency was in that. And then we try to offer flexibility. So you can go quickly, you can slow down if your work life is calling you to do that. So just to identify the differences in the two different models that we're looking at, in a traditional model of college, it doesn't really matter if you know something already because you go through everything, all the material that the instructor puts out there, you have to go through it. In our mastery-based or Flexpace model, you demonstrate that you know it and then you just go on. So you can move on as quickly as you can demonstrate that. And we found that people are more motivated when they don't have to lay their head on their desk when they're done with their assignment. They can just keep going on to the next thing. The time frame in a normal traditional class is set. So you start on day 1, you end on the 17th week of the semester, finals week. And sometimes the new material wouldn't open up for you until the instructor had that time date set. So Unit 2 isn't going to open until September 15th. You just wait until it opens. With Flexpace, as quickly as you master something, you can go on. And again, that keeps people interested and wanting to continue on. So the retention is higher. Resources in a traditional class are the same for all. In our Flexpace, we've designed classes so that we have our traditional material that most people use, but if you don't understand based on what we've got out there, we'll give you additional resources so that we want everybody to understand everything. And we set that level at 70%, so a C. Everybody understands at a level of at least a C. Understanding concepts in a traditional class, it really doesn't matter if you understand or not. The class moves forward without you. And so either way, you just get, maybe you got an F on that assignment because you didn't understand it. We make sure that you master every concept, every activity before you move on. And that helps you to be a subject master in every course that you take. And what we're finding now that we've done this multiple years is that because we're building a base in classes that are foundational, where everybody's understanding it, as you move to the higher level, let's say intro to business, you're understanding some basic concepts of business. Now when you get to business law, you've got that foundation that you've understood. So we're seeing a higher level of achievement in students that are in the Flexpace classes because they understand. They got it when they went through the courses that they needed to understand the next class. I'd love to do a research paper on that sometime if I ever find the time.
And you should.
Yeah, I should. It
I'll
would be
grade
really
it.
interesting. We'll wait till they get through MSU Mankato and then we'll say.
And I'll grade it for you.
You'll grade it for me, thank you. Are you gonna use mastery-based grading?
I will.
And then the course load is really the killer for, I think, adult learners. So again, to get through a 2-year degree in a normal amount of time, you have to take 5 classes at the same time. And that gets you through in 2 years. And in our model, you only take 1 class at a time. So you take a class, you finish it, you only have to worry about reading 1 subject at the same time. So you don't have to be worrying about what do I have to read in math, and then sociology, and then business, and your brain is going all these different directions, and you have assignments and all these different things. You're focused on 1 area at a time. And so we found that, again, students appreciate the ability to be able to just focus on 1 topic, 1 subject area at a time. So the way that this looks when you're in a class is we give students 3 different paths in order to achieve that level of mastery, or 70%. In certain courses, there is a test that you can take prior. It's called a CLEP test, so it's a test you can take outside of our system, and we identify those classes that fall into that. If you can test out of that class at a level of, I think in CLEP it's only, not even 70%, it's less than that. But if you test out, you don't pay tuition for that class, you get the credit for that class, and you're done with that class. So we tell you what classes you have the ability to CLEP out of, and that would take you through that class. Then you can choose, if you feel like you know the material already, then we give you an opportunity at the unit level, so whatever the unit is for that class, to take a test. And then when you're done with that test, if you've mastered it at a level of 70% and you're happy with that score, you can go on to the application activities and then to the next unit. Most, I would say probably 85% of learners go right to path 3. They don't want to attempt the unit level. There's no penalty for trying it. You don't get penalized if you don't get to 70%, you're not stuck with that grade. But most students just follow this path of taking things a chapter at a time and doing it and getting through. If you don't make mastery at level 3, which again, I think because we're working with adult learners that are coming to us because they're motivated to learn, we have very few people that don't achieve mastery at the chapter level. And so, if that happens, something will automatically open to you to have additional resources that you can use to be able to achieve mastery. So you can go back and take an alternate assignment, revise a paper if it was a paper that you didn't get to the level of mastery. So you don't move on until you're mastered at whatever it is. I have a map on the table, but we've plotted out the courses, so these courses are set. You're going to know what classes you're going to be taking each semester. This would be if you came in with no credits at all. So if you, like I was mentioning over here, if you came in with no credits, you would graduate in, it's out almost 3 years it would take you, taking 1 class at a time, and then another 2.5 years at MSU Mankato, and then you're going to have your 4-year degree in 6 years, approximately, if you had no credits whatsoever. But that's only taking 1 class at a time, which, you know, if you did that in a traditional class, of a semester-long class, you would be 107 before you got done with your college education. So it seems like a long time, but it really is, we found it to be manageable to take just 1 class at a time, 3 classes a semester. And people that are doing it are saying, yeah, it's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, because it's never easy to go back to school, but it's manageable. And we're very careful when we design these classes to make sure, first of all, that they're comparable to our full semester long classes, so we don't give you something totally different that somebody would come in and say, well, they took, they got all the easy assignments. It's not like that. But we also aren't going to overload you with things that maybe we fill in a semester so that students have things to do for 17 weeks. So we kind of take the core main items and we put them in our class. And we're trying to keep the amount of time, this is in our frequently asked questions, to 20 to 30 hours a week, which seems like a lot. We survey our students after each class, and from the feedback that we're getting, some students are spending 10 hours a week. I don't think anybody's gone over 25. And so it just depends on how you study. So it's not going to be, and you can study whenever you want. So we don't set things up so that you have to have things done at a certain time. So that's one of the other differences of Flexpace is we set your schedule up for a class, and we identify, if you want to get through this class in 6 weeks, which would be a normal way to get through it, here's when you should read these items, do these items, we'll give you suggested due dates. If you miss that for whatever reason and we don't even ask you, it automatically is going to open up to the end of that class. And so if you're going on vacation, you can work ahead. If you've got a big project at work and you couldn't work ahead, you can do it when you're done. You don't get a 0, you don't get an F, it just waits for you to finish it. If for some reason you don't get it done by the end of the class, we allow you to take an incomplete and finish it in our normal incomplete period. So there's some flexibility in there that's not in a traditional class either. And I know I've talked to many people in different companies with unemployment as low as it is right now. A lot of companies are doing mandatory overtime. And it's killing people. So, to think about doing that ahead of that, on top of this, I will tell you that the students that just graduated, we had our first students graduate, they said, yeah, it was challenging, but we really enjoyed it. We really liked going back and learning, and it was practical to what we were doing. So I think if you decide to do this program with us, you'll find the same thing. We have a landing page called the Flexpace Transfer Pathway, and the courses in this degree that we have are set up to be a perfect match to the Minnesota State Mankato MathViz online classes. So that when you take all the classes from us, you're going to be ready to come into their program as a junior in their business department, and you'll have all your requirements met for them. So you're welcome to go to this page, and we've got a couple of computers set up in the hall if you want to do an inquiry for it. I'm actually not going to go to the landing page right now. But when you go to the landing page, there is a little, some boxes along the right-hand side there where you can just put your name in, that you're interested. It doesn't commit you to anything, and we've got the computers in the hall set up for you to be able to do that. That's just going to start the process then of you said, oh, I'm interested in this program. And then we'll say, okay, well, here's the next step. Do this, and then we've got you into our system, and we can start communicating with you about looking at your transcripts if you have other credits. If you're coming in with other credits, we'll evaluate those and plug them into any areas that they'll fit, so that we make it as easy for you as possible. And we'll customize the schedule for you based on what credits you already have within that program. So I'm going to hold off on questions on our part. We'll pick them up after Kathy's is done. So let me just get out of mine here, and then we'll switch it over to Kathy. All right, Kathy, do you want to share your screen?
It says that I can't
Am I
share.
still sharing?
Still sharing.
Okay, I'm going to do new share. How do I know how to do this?
Or you have to stop your sharing.
Okay, thank you. There we go.
Okay.
This is Dr. Kathy Ritchie. Say hi to everybody, Kathy. You can't see them, but they can see you.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you remotely. So I am a good example of what's possible to go back to school and also work remotely, because I'm even remote right now. I am a former working adult who went through a lot of school online and remote. So I'm a testimony to the fact that it works as well. And that's part of my passion. So meeting Deb and working with Deb and everyone at Riverland the last 2 years has been enlightening, and I've appreciated every step along the way. So it was probably exactly 2 years ago that we all got together in a large group with all of our administrators, and the provost at MSU Mankato said, we really need a Bachelor of Business Administration degree. So we spent the last 2 years while Riverland was working hard on the pilot program and designing all the D2L features and all those things in the learning management system to make a Flexpace so unique. We spent the rest of the time matching the curriculum, and then we went through the Higher Learning Commission for approval and accreditation through the Department of Education. So we finally received that approval on January 4th of this year. So see, I even remember those key dates. So that was a big one. Then we also worked together and we received a Minnesota State collaboration grant, which we spent a lot of time. Last summer we went and spoke at a couple conferences about learning adults and online, and got a lot of interest along the way. So we've tried to spread the word, if you will, and the success of that. I know even right now, I just started 2 online courses through our summer College of Business program, and I would say at least 50% of them are working adults. So I was surprised when I read all the bios at how many of them were working full-time, trying to take summer courses. So I think there's a really strong need. It's very important that all of you know that we designed this program for you. So whatever feedback you have, we are open and flexible. There are some things that we want to be consistent with Flexpace as people transfer to MapBiz Online. But we are starting our first cohort in fall semester. We have some really strong applicants so far, and a lot of interest, so we're really, really pleased and working every day with people to see if it fits for what they want to do in completing their degree. So MapBiz Online is a degree completion program. Ideally, in a perfect world, which really there's nothing perfect, right? It would be that someone came to and transferred after finishing their Associate of Science 2-year degree in business. So they have their AS degree in business. Many times it's through the Minnesota State system, and so would have all the transfer pathway courses transferred. But we have already a lot of applicants. I have a call on Friday scheduled to review all of the DARS reports for our applicants that are from all types of schools, including Wisconsin and matching. So we're looking at everyone's hopefully able to transfer and just fill in the gaps in a few areas. So let me move forward a little bit. So as far as the program itself, it is a degree completion program, AS degree from a 2-year institution within the Minnesota State system or any other system. We'll take a look at as far as other 2-year schools. It is ideal to design, a new student population. In the sense the program has been designed with a new student population in mind. It is very possible, in fact, I'm talking to potential students right now, that they will never come to campus. And that concept of when do I have to come to campus for orientation is a choice of theirs, it's not a requirement. And so that is just one minor difference. So when students can't attend a night class or a day class, that's when online really fits well. We hope that the goal and the outcome once everyone finishes their degree is that they're able to advance their career and move into another new position. So overall, we okay, so the admission requirements in general are that there's 120 credits to graduate for a bachelor's degree. The minimum of 60 credits is what Minnesota State University Mankato will provide, and just as Dr. Deb has mentioned, that they would provide the program through Flexpace for the first 60 credits. And so if someone has not completed their AS degree, more than likely I will contact Dr. Deb and ask her to put together a plan if it's more than just a couple of courses to complete. And so sometimes people may have to fill in the gaps with Flexpace along the way. But the minimum GPA is also a 2.0, which is a little, we've lowered it at Minnesota State Mankato in the last year overall. Okay, so just following up to general ed requirements and the curriculum in general. I won't go into too much detail here, but overall there's a 40 credit, to graduate with your bachelor's degree, there's a 40 credit general ed requirement, and there's 10 categories to fulfill. Many of those are fulfilled already at the Riverland Flexpace program. But there are a few courses, one in the area of goal area 3 and then 10, and then another course in goal area 1. So there's 10 credits that we're offering in summer. We are right now projecting those to be, as Dr. Deb mentioned, 3 credits, 3 courses sequentially in the fall, 3 courses sequentially in the spring, and then 2 in the summer. But if someone wants the summer off, or that's where some flexibility comes in, we feel that we can find a way to help them supplement those courses during the academic year. So there is some flexibility there. So again, these are the 10 credits that would complete the gen eds after the students finish Flexpace, and that would be a communications course, a geography course, and a lab science course, which is a bit of a challenge online, but we did accomplish that. And so overall, we're talking about 30 credits at the 300 to 400 level courses. And so there's a lot of prereqs that come along the way as the AS degree is completed, and bringing that in. There are writing intensive courses to complete. There's a philosophy, a business philosophy and ethics course that does meet the writing intensive requirement. And then here's just some basic courses of business law, finance, international business management, and marketing courses. A lot of these are management courses as part of the curriculum. So overall, as you know already, the delivery method is online. The BBA, or the Bachelor of Business Administration program, is we were able to fulfill the provost requirements. So we are offering that as a general business degree, and it's taught exclusively online. Each of our courses at Minnesota State University are 5-week courses, where the Flexpace are 6-week courses. And that's because our semesters are 15 weeks long plus a finals week, and we couldn't change the infrastructure of our systems to accommodate. So we are going with 5 weeks for each course, and right now all summer courses are taught in 5-week sessions. So a lot of our faculty that will be teaching have already been teaching summer courses in 5 weeks. And so it's kind of part of their redesign of their courses as well. So only 1 course will be offered per session every 5 weeks. Everyone is registered automatically for those courses. We take care of that for them. So a good way to consider is the very last bullet there, is that it's possible to complete the BBA degree as the second 60 credits as a degree completion program in 8 consecutive terms, or 8 semester sessions. We say terms just because we're including summer in there. So once students are admitted, we're starting our first cohort. We're very excited this fall. This first year, we're just admitting in the fall, and then following that, we plan on probably having cohorts start in the fall and the spring. And sometimes people say, what is a cohort? Well, a cohort is a group of students that follow each other through all the courses through the entire program. It's very common for online universities to use a cohort method. So that structure means that we do the registration for them. We always know where everyone is in the program. If someone has to drop out because life happens, then they can reinsert themselves in the next cohort when they reach that point along the sequence. And we're very careful and deliberate because we have prerequisites that have to be completed along the way. So when someone applies to transfer to Minnesota State Mankato, the transcript's evaluated, and I'm currently in the process of doing that for our applicants so far. And then, nothing should have to ever be repeated. It's really just a matter of filling in the gaps, if there are gaps there. And so, again, we hope that people could stay with the same cohort, but if they need to take a break or something happens, we fully understand. Okay. This is maybe a little hard to read, so I'll just but I wanted to show it for you, that we are starting in the first fall. And the very first course will be a marketing consumer behavior course. The second course will be human resource management. The third will be production operations management. Then the next spring semester will be international business, and we'll just keep progressing with those general ed courses to be scheduled in the two first summer session. The very last year, so it's really sometimes people use an academic term where they say 2 + 2. It's really 2.5 + 2.5. And so that second half is a business strategy and policy course, which is a capstone course, and I currently teach that with the traditional on-campus face-to-face students. We do a business simulation in that capstone course as one of the key elements of our accreditation program as well. Then we have what is going to be a capstone course for the BBA, which is working on a business project with their teams at work and designing a problem to solve through the final 3 credits of the program. So we think and it's important to note that when we designed the curriculum and the flow of it, we brought in some industry experts. Some of them are teaching as adjuncts, and others just know that their employees are missing certain skills that would help them be promoted. And they gave us some feedback if they thought we had covered all the areas as a general breadth of business offering. One of the things they told us that we were missing was a project management course, so we did add that in. But we wanted to make sure that we got good industry feedback as well, because I, like Dr. Deb, came from industry as well, so I want to make sure that it's relevant. So all of the, I'm repeating a little and I won't spend too much time. We're looking at 15 to 20 hours a week, 70% mastery, and that things will be graded promptly and that you'll be able to move on right away. Same format. We worked really hard. When we got our grant last summer, which was a much larger grant, we shared that and so that we could do very specific faculty training as well. Okay, thank you, Dr. Deb. That was the end of what I had to say, so thank you. I hope I didn't overlap too much.
No, I thought
Thank
that
you,
was good.
everyone. I hope, one thing I want to cover, this is a special week. The Minnesota state system, if anyone's interested in applying, they are offering no charge to apply. You're still not committed, even if you do apply. But there's a code, and it's VISIT 19. So it's the word visit, V-I-S-I-T, and then number 19. So VISIT 19 is the code to enter this week when you go in to apply. You can go into the Minnesota State University homepage, and on the upper right for the Mankato homepage, it'll say apply, and you can click on that. And there is no charge. Usually there's a $25 fee to apply. That is waived this week with that VISIT 19 code. So consider that as an option. And again, you are not committed until you make your final decision. This is you are guiding your own path through that decision. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.